Pistons won a couple games over the weekend. Trade deadline is behind us, and we are joined this morning by Trajan Langdon. Trajan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
You had to feel really good, I'm sure, Friday night after you keep Malik Beasley and he drops a career-high 36 points.
Yeah, I was happy for him. Obviously, happy for our team to find a way to win in a game without Cade. But yeah, he was amazing. He's always fun to watch when he gets it going like that. Anybody is, but happy that he's still on our team, working that kind of having nights like that.
Beasley mentioned some conversations that you guys had, and part of it was he wants to stay. Business is business. When it comes down to business is business, how tough are some of those decisions that you got to walk yourself through?
They're really tough. I'm a proponent of getting to know these guys and trying to be part of creating an environment and a culture that they can be successful in. I think part of that is you gain a trust, and you're able to have difficult conversations with guys, and you try to create an atmosphere where their family is safe and comfortable. So when you have to depart with them or make these difficult decisions where there might be included in a trade, that is a difficult one. But at the end of the day, my job is to put this franchise and organization in the best position to be successful.
You mentioned putting this job, this franchise in the best position to be successful. And I think most people outside of where you are in the conversations that you have in your experience thought at the beginning of the season, signing Beasley, Hardaway Jr., they were all going to be sold at the deadline. When did you shift your perspective, or did you at any point, because of the success the team is now having?
I think it's a really good question. I think it was an ongoing thought of it's always, can you get better? And so if there would have been opportunities at the trade deadline where those guys are included, where I thought that we could get significantly better either now or in the future, then those things would have been taken into consideration. Some things did cross our desk in terms of some of those players that were included, but I felt none made us better now or really made us better going forward. And so that made the decision easier in regards to those players.
We're talking to Pistons president of basketball ops, Trajan Langdon, this morning. And one guy you did add was Dennis Schroder. Why was he the right guy from, I'm assuming, a group of bench guards that you were looking at?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We went into the trade deadline thinking, obviously with the cap space that we had, we wanted to gather as many assets as possible. We would have loved to gather more, but some deals fell through down the stretch on the last day. But I think getting a guard that could play aside Cade, that could help run a second unit, obviously with the loss of Jaden Ivey, we wanted to kind of put a guy in that could have some thrust, but also guard at the other end. And look, there might be some times we have to rest some players, and he's a guy that can even fill in and start it in sometimes terms of running the team. So all those were taken into account, and we just thought Dennis was the best fit to check the most of those boxes that we were looking at.
And we look at a lot of the assets that you guys have, and outside of the players, if we're going to talk about them as assets, it's also draft assets. And for somebody that doesn't really understand, and I think a lot of NBA fans, even the most ardent fans, the salary cap, adding salary, taking away salary, adding these guys to help other teams. Along with that is second-round picks. You guys have accumulated a ton of second-round picks. What are the true value of having those second-round picks?
Well, I think a lot of times you can look at them as just, the pick that you wait until 2028 and then you got 4 of them, right? That doesn't, to a lot of people, make sense. Like, why would you have 6 picks in one year? And I think for us it's, and for a lot of the league is accumulating all these assets, and they're almost used as ammunition at times to go get what you want at a certain time that you want it. And if you don't have these assets, there's I think 4 or 5 teams that have the majority of assets in this league right now. And so if a player becomes available or a pick becomes available that you want to go get, if you don't have the assets to get it, you're just not going to have the ability to do it. And so right now we feel we're probably a little bit asset deficient. given where we are. And so when we have the opportunity, we try to gather more. So when that opportunity does arise, if there's a player, whether it's in the draft or on the trade market or in free agency that we want to go get, we'll have the ability to get that player.
Trajan, is it safe to say playoffs are now the expectation for this group, given you guys didn't sell at the deadline and you guys are in right now?
I think that's what the goal is for our players. The expectation, I think, for us is to continue to evaluate the team that we do have and understand who we are at the end of the season to make the best decisions in the off season to continue getting better. But these guys truly believe, and we wanted to, have another player on the roster with some experience. It wasn't just another additional ball handler. We were fortunate to get a player with Dennis's experience playing in meaningful games, not only in the NBA, but obviously international with the German national team. He's played in some huge games and won championships. So we feel putting a player like that would help us be more competitive, in the second half of the season when this league ramps up about 15 to 20% in terms of intensity.
What have you seen and how have you best seen Cade develop? Obviously, he's an all-star. We're all excited about that. He's playing at an extremely high level. How have you seen him grow since you've taken the job?
I think on and off the floor, I think it's pretty apparent what he's doing between the lines as he's impacting the game in all different ways on both sides of the floor, in transition, on the glass. Defensively at the rim, I think he's taken steps all over the court to help us be successful. But I think that the biggest thing that isn't seen is his leadership outside the lines, in the locker room, when we travel, on the bench. He's done a really nice job of supporting teammates, holding them accountable at the same time. And when you lead and when you hold people accountable, you also have to hold yourself accountable all the time, because as a leader, you can't ask your team or teammates to do a certain thing and then you not do that. You have to do that every night. And that's what he talked about, the step that he wanted to take this summer. So the fact that he's doing it and really having pride in being the leader of this team has been fun to watch.
Feels like we all got cheated, and I guess especially you get cheated on not seeing Ivy with Cade for an extended stretch now. What did you make of the two of them together, and do you have an update on whether we would see Jade and Ivy before the season's over?
Yeah, I think the first thing is they have a tremendous amount of respect for each other as people and as basketball players. I think that, for one, is important, because when they go out on the floor, Cade sees J.I. working his butt off in the weight room and on the floor, and vice versa. And so when they're out there, whether they're having a good night or an off night, they respect the work that they put in. They respect the approach that they have. They know that each of them are just trying to win games and be the best possible player that they can be for this team. So I think it starts there. And then there's just there's a willingness to play with each other and trust one another. And so that was fun to watch, and they celebrate each other's successes. I think when you have two players that are that close in age and position, sometimes that can be an issue, but it hasn't at all in my time here. So just to watch those guys play together was a lot of fun. Obviously, we feel awful for J.I. because he was having an incredible season. In terms of timing coming back, he's just starting to weight bear this week without crutches, starting to get on, the treadmill. He's been on the underwater treadmill, but he's getting on the treadmill on the Alter G. He's not full weight bear in terms of walking on the treadmill yet, but now that he is weight bearing in a boot, it's going to start progressing, hopefully, at a higher rate, and we'll just see where he is at in terms of returning. Right now, we don't want to put any pressure on him. We want to make sure when he returns, his mind is right and his body is right. It's his career, it's his body, so we'll be working together with him in terms of that timing.
Last week, we had a chance to talk to JB, and it was leading into the trade deadline. We asked him about his involvement in that now that that's passed and your guys' team is above 500, you're in that 6th spot as we sit today. I'd love to hear how you are building a relationship with JB and the job that you've seen him do through the first, little bit but more than half of the season.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him. I'll tell you that. I mean, everybody that ever asks about the environment that we've created, why our players are so close, I think it has a lot to do with he and his staff and some of the things that he basically communicated to them from day one through training camp about who we're going to be and why, who he's going to be as a coach, how he's going to support them, how he's going to push them, how he's going to hold them accountable, but also have their backs at the same time. We're going to play a certain brand of basketball. The messaging, the communication, the collaboration with a lot of the players too, in terms of what they want to do on some particular days, how they want to, he'll ask them questions about this is what we're doing. Do any of you guys have anything to say? So there is a collaboration between he and the players as well. And so I think they all feel involved in part of the process. So that part of it that he communicated early, I think they've realized, no, this guy's genuine. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And so the trust factor is there. There's a high care factor with JB and his staff as well, not only about the athlete, but also about the human being, and make sure these guys are being taken care of as people off the floor as well. So I think they trust him. I think they genuinely enjoy playing for him every day. And I think JB is trying to get the best out of not only this team, but each individual player and cares about him as well. And I think that goes a long way when you're talking about professional athletes and a basketball team that's playing through these stresses and pressures, in this 5, 6, 7 month season, hopefully.
Trajan, it's great to talk to you. Everybody's excited about the direction of the Pistons, and we'll check in soon, all right?
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
Of course.
You guys be good.
Thank you. You too.
He's the president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon.